Commissioner Warren. Here. Commissioner Fry. Present. Commissioner High. Here. Commissioner Johnson. And Chairman Zimmelman.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Before we get started here, we got a rather long agenda here today, and we've talked it over with staff, and if this runs anywhere near 12:30 or so, we're probably gonna stop at that point and pick up the rest of it at another meeting. So hopefully we won't get to that deadline, but that's just a note to people that are needing to speak and present to keep it precise and keep going. So the first agenda item will be to approve the meeting summaries from the May 14th, 2026 meeting. Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I've brought this up before at MAPC meeting minutes, but I noticed that both of these meeting minutes are missing the comments made by commissioners.
Yep.
Between Q&A and I think it's important that minutes be reflective of our comments. So I'd ask that we take another look at these minutes before we approve them and get that information included.
Yes, Scott.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, I agree. What we'll do is, right now we're using an AI device to prepare the first draft of the minutes, and so we'll have staff go back through and listen to them and then add in the material that's missing. So we'll get these back to you.
So you want to just skip these for now then? Okay, that'll be fine.
So that would change it from the minutes, or from the summary to the full minutes then, correct?
We'll try and achieve a balance of not being too verbose with it, but capturing the essence of what individuals are saying. So it will take a little bit of judgment, but yeah. And we'll get better as we work through it. I know you guys are working through some very important topics where it's helpful to have that context and information about what the commissioner's dialogue is. So we'll try and balance that with having them get too thick. So
I will withdraw my motion for approval.
Okay. Our first speaker today will be on the Downtown Action Plan. Heather Schroeder is going to make a presentation, and the microphone is yours, Heather.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me today and for the opportunity to share our community's vision for how they'd like to see their downtown evolve over the next decade. Who's the slide person today?
They're in the back, so you can just say next slide, please.
Okay, great. So the Downtown Wichita Action Plan, as it's being called, is an update to the 2010 plan, which was called Project Downtown. You can see some of the impacts of that plan illustrated on the screen. Over 15 years, that plan helped catalyze $2 billion of investment in downtown Wichita. We were seeing different types of development than what had previously been done. For example, conversion of upper office floors into residential living units. Next slide, please. This was the state of affairs when Project Downtown began in 2010. You can see we had a nominal amount of development activity happening in the core. Next slide. And by the end of that 15 years, here's that 119 project tally. So you can see that physical impact on the core. Next slide, please. What we did to start updating the plan, because after 15 years and $2 billion, it was time to let the community kind of revision how to proceed for the next decade. Downtown Wichita engaged with a market research firm that we've been working with since 2009, and we asked them to update their forecast for the next decade. And for our residential market potential, you can see that we have demand to grow by up to 750 new units a year. It's just a matter of developers meeting that demand. Our office market potential was a little bit more COVID-proof than we had anticipated. We continue to have strong growth in Class A office construction in particular. And then for our hotel market, there continues to be unmet demand for new hotel rooms in the core. Next slide, please. The area of the Downtown Wichita Action Plan is larger than that of the SMID. The Self-Supported Municipal Improvement District is illustrated here with the blue dots, and we've extended the boundaries of the plan to encompass the commensurate growth that we're seeing across the river in Delano, and also north of Central all the way up to Murdoch with Ascension via Christie. Next slide, please. We assembled a steering committee comprised of downtown businesses, major employers, property owners, institutions, nonprofits, and of course Sedgwick County and the city of Wichita. All of these organizations also contributed funding to the plan, so this was a true public-private partnership. Next slide, please. Together, the steering committee interviewed prospective partners to work on the plan with us and selected urban design firm Sasaki. Next slide. And so what is the action plan? After a year of community engagement, we now have a vision and a toolkit with steps to achieve the goals of the plan. Next slide. A little bit about the work that went into this. We started by looking at the existing building stock within the core. What are those historic assets and how do we mimic that style of architecture and complement it as we go forward? Next slide. What is our zoning capacity? Most of downtown and most of the plan area falls within the central business district, which is very permissive in terms of what we can build. We also have light industrial, but as you can see in this slide, we've only realized 15% of the development potential within this 100-plus block area. Next slide. A large reason for that is that 48% of our downtown land mass right now is dedicated to surface parking. So each of those surface parking lots represents a future development opportunity to increase the tax base for the city as a whole. Next slide. So our public engagement process lasted about 10 months, starting with a public open house in March and continuing through September of 2025. Next slide. All in all, we held more than 56 stakeholder meetings and opportunities for the public to engage. Next slide. So we asked the community questions like, where do you take your friends and family downtown? And looked at these clusters of activity along the river, in public spaces, along cultural corridors, and of course along Douglas Ave. Next slide. We asked questions like, where would you want to live downtown and what type of housing would you want to occupy? I think it was a little eye-opening for all of us to see the percentage of people who would prefer to buy because we don't currently have a significant number of purchasable options for housing downtown. Next slide. We asked people what they would want to see with riverfront engagement, and they told us, first and foremost, food and beverage options along the river. We currently have a recreation trail, but we have no complements to that in terms of retail activity. Next slide. And we finally asked about cultural opportunities. We have so many unique cultural experiences that define our core. The tagline for downtown Wichita is commerce and culture at the core, but even our own citizenry isn't necessarily aware of all of the unique historic landmarks that we have. And so we wanted to ask, where would they like us to highlight? Next slide.
Heather, could I get you to pull the microphone up just a little bit?
Sure, how's that?
It's better.
Thank you. So all told, we heard feedback from 1,000 Wichitans and used that to shape the plan's 4 goals and numerous strategies and actions to reach those goals. Next slide. The 4 goals are, Wichitans told us that they want their downtown to be more connected. That involves multimodal options to navigate throughout the system. Of course, they want their riverfront to be more active and have more opportunities to engage. They want to continue that tradition of great design, from our core buildings dating back to 1880. And they want to make sure that downtown is full service, that if somebody chooses to live downtown, they have the option to go grocery shopping, to go to the pharmacy, to meet their daily needs without a private automobile. Next slide. There were 5 themes that emerged from the feedback that we received. Next slide. First among them was transportation related. How do we recreate our streets to cater to a multimodal audience? And how do we complete the bike network as well as provide regular frequency of transit options? Next slide. Living and working. We have examples here of ownership options like townhouse development that our peers in Oklahoma City have already realized. Next slide. Urban form, making sure that, again, our quality of construction matches that to which we're accustomed, as well as the quality of our street design. Next slide. Landscape and public realm. This is a hot, windy environment. How do we provide shelter on our streets for people who are navigating, during the hot seasons, during the windy seasons? And how do we make sure that we maintain a clean and welcoming environment? Next slide. And then finally, a reference to those historical and cultural sites that our community is embracing. Next slide. The strategies and actions to achieve the 4 goals of the plan. Here's a sample listing of those 17 primary strategies. Next slide. So this is kind of the status quo of how the core appears today. Next slide. And we're going to highlight a few strategies that encompass the development potential. Next slide. First and foremost, I would say the chief strategy identified in the plan is a complete redesign of Douglas Avenue between the river and Washington Street. This mimics the redesign that was already implemented across the river to the west in Delano. Next slide. The opportunities that the team identified included defining a downtown street hierarchy with primary streets. Next slide. And the rationale for that includes that we have increasing competition on our sidewalks. They are too narrow for modern uses, including sharing among cyclists, scooterers, pedestrians, strollers, outdoor cafes, and landscaping. Next slide. So for example, Douglas Avenue, our city traffic engineers have shared numbers with us that indicate that we are overbuilt by about 2 traffic lanes, 1 in each direction. We have half the number of half the number of cars passing through this area that the current streetscape can accommodate. So to right size it, we would actually gain, we would go from 16 feet in the kind of planting strip and sidewalk to 24 feet, which allows for all of those uses to coexist. Next slide. An example of how that might appear looking west on Douglas Ave. Next slide. Carving up into these shared spaces while also maintaining a traffic flow. Next slide, please. We looked at case studies from other communities that have engaged in this kind of transformational change. In Lancaster, California, they spent $11.2 million reconstructing their street and realized a $282 million economic impact from the private sector along that corridor. Next slide. We talked about improving the bike network. This community has done extensive work on a bicycle master plan, so just supporting the continued implementation of that. Next slide, please. And indicating where each of the different interventions could go. There's no one-size-fits-all strategy for integrating a bicycle network into our streetscape, so recognizing the different opportunities that exist. Next slide. Activating the river. How might that look in our community? Next slide. Again, making sure that our businesses and our buildings face the river. Currently, we've turned our backs to it with our architecture and our entrances. There is one business that has a front door facing the river, and that is our bike and boat rental facility. Next slide, please. Local transportation was identified as a priority by the community. Next slide. Our current queue line has dropped in frequency to every 45 minutes. What the community told us is that they really need a shuttle that is reliable every 5 to 10 minutes so that they can take that lunch break and go over to the bridge to Delano and come back in time for work or be on their way up to College Hill. Next slide. Encouraging new housing, another pillar of the plan. Next slide. Again, increasing the variety of housing types available in our core. We are predominantly middle to higher income rental housing options at this point in time. Making sure that we have affordable housing options that are available to our complete workforce that works in the core, as well as some of those home ownership options, and also family-sized housing. Currently, our housing size is maxes out at about a 2-bedroom size. Next slide. Attracting a grocery store will be dependent on that increase in our population base. The rule of thumb for national grocers is that an area must have a population density of 10,000 residents before it can kind of qualify for their market requirements. Next slide. Looking at different housing types, again, we identified townhomes and row houses as a new product to introduce to this market. Next slide. Creating downtown design standards, something near and dear to this group's heart. Next slide. Ensuring that we are not fronting downtown buildings with parking lots, that we have a seamless experience, no missing teeth on the street, which are vacant lots as pedestrians are walking along and can interrupt their journey. And ensuring that we have transparency in ground floor windows so that we have that vision into the activity that's going on and opportunities to be part of the local commerce. Next slide. Tree planting kind of speaks for itself. We'll skip through that. Making sure that our tree pits can actually accommodate canopy growth. Next slide. And then finally, creating a cultural loop. As we pursue public adoption of the plan, private organizations have been working on some of the kind of more private sector strategies within the plan, including pursuing funding of a downtown history trail. We are finalists for a Rotary grant, and we'll find out the result of that funding decision June 29th. So we can kind of pass quickly through the next 4 slides. So examples of what that might look like and locations. Next slide, please. And finally, let's see the last slide there. And a digital version as well to make it a scavenger hunt and engage with different generations. Okay, next slide. Oh, and using Cartholite as a local material as ground markers for the plan. Next slide. So the next steps in our plan adoption strategy, we have been going through kind of a 3-month process, meeting with district advisory boards to make sure that they are seeing kind of this compiled version of the final community feedback, receiving recommendations from them, incorporating any revisions, presenting to the steering committee, and then finally, coming to this group to seek a recommendation of adoption by both the City Council and the County Commission. And with that, I will yield to staff. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Aldridge. You have time for questions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Going back to Douglas, for example, what is the estimated cost to tear out and rebuild, if you will, based on what your plan?
That will require a secondary study, but we do have, the kind of track record of public expenditures in Delano. There's a modified plan underway that was kind of stemming from a pilot east of downtown, from Washington to Grove, I believe, or Grove to Hydraulic. And that was kind of a lesser intensive plan. What we're really going for is to mimic what was done in Delano with changing the actual curb locations, again, to have a permanent impact on delineation of space.
Okay, back, several years ago when you can drive down Douglas and we had a treescape and, center aisle and everything else and angle parking down there. They spent approximately $2.4 million to tear all that out. They rebuilt it basically the way it is right now for about over $4 million. So now basically you look at your plan right now, they want to tear all that out and pretty much put it back the way it was before they tore everything out. So, and that makes a whole lot of sense when it comes to the taxpayers' dollars. I just make a plan, revise it, build on it, but don't be completely tearing things down because in another 15, 20 years, you're going to wind up doing it again. And, you don't have any way of making any money unless you come off the taxpayers' back, basically.
I think the significant difference there is that, during that time, the Kellogg flyover was completed. So we now know our permanent traffic counts. It's no longer a guesstimate of, what future traffic patterns will require. We know that people passing around downtown will use the flyover and people going to downtown will use Douglas. I think there's also opportunity to, it's not a direct replacement, obviously, of what was there previously. What's being proposed is a 3-lane street rather than a 5-lane. Without a landscape median, that would be a turn lane, and kind of giving the sidewalk over to those permanent planting opportunities.
I think my my purpose of my comment is to be responsible with the taxpayers' dollars.
Absolutely.
And then, I mean, it looks great, and I've been in cities where they've done this. You look at downtown Indianapolis, it's just absolutely fabulous down there. But one of the problems that we have that I haven't seen any plan that addressed it, and it's a major concern of mine, is our homeless problem that we have. All you gotta do is go up and down Broadway from Kellogg all the way up to 235. How much more is that, how many more businesses are gonna have to shut down and close up? And I know there's a few more that are headed that way now until we address that, because that would be the biggest issue that can destroy all your plans, if we don't take care of other things that can, that's bringing cities down all over the nation. So that needs to be addressed one way or the other. But thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fry.
Thank you, Heather. Appreciate the presentation. I think this is the second time I've seen it now, so I always learn something new each time. And I'm a firm believer in that always have to have something to look forward to. So a plan is important to help us guide and give us direction as a city. On one of the early slides, you talked about hotel room growth. Does that factor in a new convention center, or is that based on the existing footprint and the existing facilities?
So that would be a minimum of 500 rooms in addition to the plan to add 100 rooms to the Hyatt, which has already been kind of established. So that 500 would be in addition to convention center redevelopment.
So the number would be if Century 2 got redeveloped. That's the projected number if that facility is enhanced.
If Bob Brown is enhanced, yes. Mhm.
And I know downtown Wichita is currently funded by the SMID.
Yes.
Does this plan incorporate expanding the boundaries of the SMID? Is there a action plan or a recommendation to enlarge the SMID?
No, really, in showing, incorporating properties west of the river and north of Central, it was recognizing that there's development pressure happening in those corridors as well. So just as it wouldn't make sense to plan one side of a street at a time, we didn't want to plan one side of a river without consulting our neighbors and making sure that our growth is sympathetic.
So yeah, currently understanding planning for that, but it doesn't incorporate expanding the SMID to those areas.
It does not. That would require a extensive public process. Yep.
You mentioned that 48% of the project area is surface parking. Do you know how much of that is city-owned and/or county? Because I know the old Rotary lot is county-owned.
I don't have that exact percentage. I could give you an estimate, but I'd rather go back and calculate it and follow up.
I think that's important to know.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, the queue line, it's disappointing to see its reduction. It used to be extremely popular and was an extremely valuable service for downtown. And not having it utilized right now is disappointing. So I encourage that. And I love the phrase, missing teeth along Douglas. I'm definitely going to use that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner High.
This was really well done. So I was on the original Visioneering Wichita group that did Visioneering Wichita.
Great.
So there's a lot of downtown buildings that are being bought by a group. From what I understand, Arts and Entertainment District. Does this incorporate that?
It does, yes. That group has referred to the plan as it's been developed. They've participated in the public outreach for that and are very eager to kind of incorporate the public's goals into their redevelopment proposal.
And is this information publicly available?
Yes, there should be a link to it in your agenda packet. We have not published it because, again, the plan is not final. It's still subject to revisions at your recommendation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question. I pretty much went through this whole presentation last night. It's a pretty extensive document. It's a couple hundred pages. So please thank everybody that probably donated a lot of their time to do this. But my question is, you're proposing quite a few new housing districts, a grocery store. All of that is going to take more sewer lines, more water lines, more gas lines, more electricity. Is the Utilities Department and Public Works Department part of this study, and have they figured out if this is all going to work with what we have to work with? Some of this stuff's got to be 100 years old.
Yes, our Public Works Department was part of the public engagement process, and the first layer of review of the kind of final draft of the plan was city department heads to make sure that that the plan wasn't suggesting anything that wasn't compatible with the city's operations.
Good. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you again.
Thank
very
you.
much for coming over. The recommended action for this is to recommend that MABC approve a recommendation for the Downtown Action Plan as an element of the Wichita-Sedgwick County Comprehensive Plan. I will make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Yes, Mr. Warren.
I guess my question going forward with such a large document to look at, would we want to look at ultimately approving this in one meeting? I don't know if there's going to be public input or the possibility of breaking it down in sections at a time. How do you eat an elephant?
What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, based on the recommendation today, it will go to the full MAPC, so there will be an opportunity for these 7 members to look at it again, as well as the other 7 members of the full MAPC. You could use that full MAPC meeting as an opportunity, as a second chance to take some additional time, review the plan, and ask those questions at that forum. So that's certainly an option as well.
You okay with that, Commissioner Warren? Okay. Any other comments?
So along those lines, could there be a friendly substitute motion that this body recommends forwarding to the MAPC for consideration for formal approval?
I would accept that. Yep.
Okay. That'd be my substitute motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Zimbelman, a second by Commissioner High. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Passes 7-6-0. Our next agenda item is a presentation from the City of Goddard to expand their area of influence. And are you speaking for Goddard today?
Really quick, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Just to note, before Raquel gets into this one, I will just note that it was the vote of 7-0 for the downtown Wichita plan. And because Commissioner Johnson is joining us virtually at the moment, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, my name is Raquel Ordonez. I will be presenting Goddard's request to expand their urban area of influence, and then I believe Goddard has a representative who will also have an opportunity to speak after my presentation. Okay, let's get started. Next slide, please. First, a little bit of background about urban areas of influence, just to remind everybody what they are. Next slide, please. So this is the current map of the urban areas of influence. The urban areas of influence are a regulatory gift from the Board of County Commissioners to the cities identified on this map. It gives them, their planning commission, an opportunity to weigh in on zoning and other planning cases that occur within that boundary. And then if they have a negative recommendation, it would affect it would require a supermajority vote at the Board of County Commissioners level for final approval. Next slide, please. In the Unified Zoning Code, this is the definition for urban areas of influence. It means the area surrounding certain cities in Sedgwick County, as shown on the 2035 Urban Growth Areas map of the county's comprehensive plan, and they are amended from time to time. Next slide, please. Again, these are the general provisions of it identified in the Unified Zoning Code of the urban areas of influence. just identifying that they are able to be amended from time to time, and establishing that the cities of Eastboro, Viola, and Wichita do not have an urban area of influence. Next slide, please. Again, this is showing the difference between urban growth areas are identified in the comprehensive plan, and the urban areas of influence are codified in the Unified Zoning Code. And the last time, just to note, this is identified in the staff report, but the last time these were amended was in 2020. Both the urban growth areas and Unified Zoning Code, or urban growth areas and urban areas of influence, were updated in 2020 for most of the cities except for Goddard and Garden Plain. Next slide, please. In section 5K of the Unified Zoning Code, it identifies the process for expanding. This request can be initiated by the Planning Commission from one of the cities with an urban area of influence, the MAPC, or the Board of County Commissioners. Then it is subject, next step would be a Planning Commission hearing, and then a final decision by the Board of County Commissioners. Next slide, please. This is just a visual representation of that process. We have added the MAPC Advanced Plans Committee meeting today, as is our usual process and practice for any amendments to the Unified Zoning Code. Next slide, please. Now we'll be getting into the request from Goddard. Next slide, please. We created this application form based on the regulations in the Unified Zoning Code. Goddard submitted, as part of their application, a copy of their comprehensive plan, a memo indicating their request, official minutes from their Planning Commission meeting where their Planning Commission discussed and approved initiating this request. And additionally, they provided us some data on their current housing developments. Next slide, please. Additionally, they provided us with this map that shows their requested expansion of the urban growth area. The purple is the existing urban growth area, the yellow dotted line is the existing city limits of Goddard, and the lime green color is their requested expansion. Generally, this request expands from West 21st Street on the north side down to 47th Street South on the south side. That's here. It goes a little bit farther to West 55th here, 263rd on the west side, and then a little bit in from there, and then on the east side, we're up to South 151st Street. Next slide, please. Now we're going into staff analysis. Next slide, please. Staff used the following criteria to evaluate the request submitted by Goddard: conformance to existing plans and policies, community growth patterns and building activity, access to municipal services, and the impacts to other communities. Next slide, please. This is a map created by planning staff, just a recreation of Goddard's request map. Again, the pink dotted lines are the city limits of Garden Plain, Goddard, and Wichita. You can see how they can connect. The blue is the existing urban area of influence of Goddard. The green is the requested expansion. Next slide, please. This is a map of the current urban areas of influence. And here you can see staff identified that Goddard's request expands into the city limits of Garden Plain. Garden Plain annexed this portion of the Prairie Sunset Trail, and you can see Goddard's request overlaps with that area. But we did not notice any other overlaps into other communities' urban areas of influence. Again, Wichita does not have an urban area of influence. Next slide, please. This is the current urban growth areas map. Here in the light yellow, you can see Wichita's urban growth area. You can see Goddard's request for their expansion of their urban growth area overlaps with Wichita's current urban growth area. Urban area of influence overlaps with the urban growth area, excuse me. And additionally, these dark gray portions, no, not here. This dark gray is the city limits of Goddard. Here, this small tan portion is actually incorporated as city limits of Wichita. So again, we notice this area is about 54 acres. of Wichita city limits that is within Goddard's request for their urban area of influence. These are so this would not be in conformance with our current comprehensive plan for Wichita and Sedgwick County. Next slide, please. This is a map of Goddard's future land use map. This is from Goddard's existing comprehensive plan. The plan timeline was from 2015 to 2025, so this plan is slightly out of date. This shows planned future land use and growth for Goddard, and you can see that it is much smaller than their requested area. However, in their comprehensive plan, they did also take stock of all developments within a 3-mile ring of their city limits. And so for that matter, we can see that they have been considering what growth has been happening around their city limits since 2015. Next slide, please. Additionally, Goddard provided us with some population projections and their projections for community growth and building activity with their spreadsheet of housing developments going on. In their memo, Goddard projected their population would grow to 13,000 residents in 2030, and in their spreadsheet of housing developments, they indicated 49 housing developments with a total of 4,310 dwelling units. 24 of those housing developments are currently active and being under construction. That's a total of 2,378 dwelling units, and they projected that at approximately 3 people per dwelling unit, that would be an increase of 7,134 people. Next slide, please. Additionally, planning staff reached out to the Center for Economic Development and Business Research, and they provided us with a population projection report via Lightcast. The Lightcast report uses cohort methodology to project the population for the entire Goddard zip code. And the Lightcast estimates the current population of the Goddard zip code to be 9,892 people, and they project that population to grow by 234 people, or 2.4% by 2030, with a total of 10,126 residents by 2030.
Sorry, Raquel, the slide before just said 13,000 by 2030.
Yes, that's the request that Goddard provided to us, or that is the estimation that Goddard provided to us. We reached out to CEDBR for confirmation, and so.
And they projected 3,000 fewer.
Correct. And this is also for the entire zip code, so outside of the city limits. So we did not find that this data did not support the projected growth that Goddard submitted to us. Additionally, as I stated previously, we also wanted to look at other criteria, including, impacts to other communities. We already indicated that on the map it overlaps with city limits of Garden Plain, and municipal services, and we did not receive any data regarding proposed expansion of municipal services into the requested urban growth area that Goddard requested. Next slide, please. So here we have the recommended action, receive and file for today, but I've also provided a list of alternatives. And I will stand for any questions, or we can also allow the representative from Goddard to speak.
Okay, thank you, Rockwell. Is there anyone from Goddard that would like to speak on this? Yes, please state your name and address and
How's it going? My name is Micah Scoggin. I'm the Economic and Community Development Director for the City of Goddard. I've been there almost 8 years. I live at 1220 North Coach House Road in Wichita, 67235. So let's kind of just jump into it and just discuss it a little bit. But you guys saw the map. You saw our data. So obviously CEDBR might present some data that might be contrary to our data, but we're more in tune with our existing data and the active developments that are happening. We do have between 17 and 20 active residential developments. We do have a booming school system, and so that's really what's driving a lot of our residential growth. And we believe that this recommendation is prudent, given that we have Wichita on our east side, so the only place that we can really grow is to the west. And we are going to continue to grow, there's no doubt about it. We, like I said, have one of the best school districts, and this largely is what's leading our growth and development. I do think that our request, like I said, is reasonable, given that we have real, measurable, and active growth. We do have multiple developments that are happening, and the building permits we're seeing is around 150 to 200 every year of new residential building permits. Goddard, like I said, is bordered by Wichita on the east. We understand that, it does have an impact potentially on Garden Plain, but we believe that our need for that west side of Goddard as we grow is more reasonable given our growth and demand metrics that we're seeing. We do understand that the request is responsible for our long-range planning, the commercial and industrial growth as well. We have had over 200,000 square feet of industrial development happening, as well as 60,000 for our new John Deere facility, which is on the west side of Goddard. We have our Overland Property Group and other large multifamily developments happening, which is increasing our residential growth and population growth metrics. Now, in terms of utilities, obviously you're not going to provide utilities to the west until you actually have demand for that development happening, but that demand is going on and is continuing to grow. We currently have a cross-connection agreement with the Rural Water District to provide additional water, and we have currently purchased and have acquired additional water rights to provide more water for our citizens and the future growth of the city. The reason that we are saying 13,000, which is we understand is a general estimate, is just based on permits being pulled and active development. We can simply say, based on our active development, multiply that times the number of units we have, multiply that times 3, and that's what our population is going to be. And these are active developments. These aren't theoretical developments. These are currently going through entitlements, and permits are being pulled now. So we are seeing this growth and development happening, and we want to understand that as we grow, we want to be responsible and we want to work in tandem with the county. And so as plats and conditional use permits and rezonings are submitted that are in our area of influence, that we can have that review process, because eventually we're going to end up annexing those properties. And that's kind of the reality of what's going to happen as time progresses. So do you guys have any questions for me, or thoughts or concerns or anything else? But I'm happy to answer them.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes, we're looking at the reports and that we got from planning staff, and also your own words. You're estimating, 13,000 residents by 2030, but yet the Center of Economic Development Business Research shows that your projected growth based on their studies would be 234 over the next 5 years. So that's a considerable difference, and I know that you're saying that, of course, you're going to go by what your data is and stuff, but it seems like there might be a little bit of blue sky in there. And when you look at your area, the area map, if we can go back to the area map, please. You're looking at, growing, or your area of influence, approximately 3 times the size of your city limits right now. And I think that when you start encroaching on other cities' growths in the area, like, for example, Garden Plains, it's sort of taking away of what their potential growth pattern would be. Personally, I don't have a problem with supporting an increase in your area growth, but I think what you're asking for is way too much. I think that needs to be scaled back quite a bit.
Can I answer that question?
Sure.
Or, it's not really a question, it's more of a statement, but you notice that what CDBR presented for our 67052 zip code, what was that increase? I mean, it was only like 100 people. That is a completely nonsensical statistical statement made by CDBR. That's be ridiculous. That'd be simply saying, like, we're only going to issue 4 building permits or 5 building permits. That's beyond incredible. That just a statement alone, because the fact is, With 100 building permits, you're going to easily get 300 people. We've issued over 400 duplex permits over the last 4 years. And the duplex is 2 units. So if you're saying 3 people per side, you're well looking over 1,200 people for the last couple of years. And they're saying we're only grow by 100? I mean, I think that the credibility of their information is something that needs to be brought into question, not the credibility of our information, which we're seeing on a daily basis, which is that the building permits are being issued again and again and again and again, well over 100 building permits. I mean, I would really just want to question the CDBR information more than anything else than ours, because we're going to continue to issue building permits. And I think that this green that you're seeing up there, I know it can seem like a preponderance amount of additional area of influence, but it's more in line and realistic of what we're actually seeing from the city of Goddard, which is a consistently high growth rate year over year and projected well into the future.
Do you have actual data that you can,
The data has been provided to the MABCD staff, and then that's
I
what's
was
been
gonna
included,
ask.
hopefully, in your agenda packet. But as I mentioned, active developments, that means that they're actually being implemented now. That means that there's actually being building permits issued now. And the fact that CDBR can't even take that into account as part of their consideration, I would question CDBR's data versus our own data. And I'm the one who's actually putting that information together on a daily basis, because I issue the building permits and I approve the projects. And I can tell you emphatically that our growth is far greater than CDBR is ever going to take into consideration,
Okay,
and
sir.
that we have a greater justification for it based on where we are.
sir, is your growth that you're seeing right now, is that within the inner core of the city limits right now, or is that in your current area of growth?
So right now, it's going to be within the dashed yellow line, because anytime you have an active project, you're going to annex it. So as that yellow line expands, and you notice in the northeast corner, the yellow has already gone beyond the purple, and that purple was from 2020, because I was around in 2020 when we approved that urban area of influence. But every year, we're considering more and more developments and more projects. And so as we annex projects, the green is going to be annexed into the city limits of Goddard moving forward. I mean, because if you keep having, and you know the process, everybody here knows the process, a farmer decides that he doesn't want to farm anymore, and his kids don't want to take over ownership, the land goes up for sale, developers decide that they want to buy it, who are they going to reach out to? They reach out to Goddard, because we have one of the best school districts and we can provide water. So our growth is going to continue into the green regardless of what happens, because we're not going to turn down development, and the farmers are going to continue to sell the land to developers, and we're just going to keep on annexing and growing, and we're going to have to grow west.
My final question that I have is that, are you giving any consideration to a possible growth of Garden Plain? Because you can't overlap, area growths cannot overlap each other. So, and it looks like what you're trying to do again is create such a large area for growth that it would pretty much stymie Garden Plains from ever going east.
I understand. And right now, our urban area that we're proposing on the green, it goes out to 263rd. Their current one is at 279. I'm not sure what their current proposed new area of influence is. We do understand that they have the Prairie Sunset Trail. There has been some questions that have arose about the legality of that annexation, which I know you guys are not here to discuss legality, but we believe that giving the reasonable demand of the two cities, Garden Plain versus Goddard, which one is growing more and which has more need of that area of influence? If you compare Garden Plain's permits, projects, processes versus Goddard's permits, plans, and processes, who has more need of that green area? And the reality is, Goddard has a far greater need of that area of influence than Garden Plain will ever have, simply because of our growth and demand. So the green is not currently overlapping on Garden Plain's existing area of influence. We're about a mile east of them. I don't know what their new proposed one is, but we believe that our green area is more justified based on true economic data, permits pulled, projects being platted, and existing growth and demand. And this is the reality of our juxtaposed Garden Plains.
Got a question for staff. Has there been any input that you received from Garden Plain officials?
We did receive an email from Garden Plain. I will note that there is a representative from Garden Plain in attendance. So if you have any questions, I believe that they should be able to answer those.
Thank you.
Commissioner High?
What's your future plans for the Prairie Sunset Trail?
The Prairie Sunset Trail. So the Prairie Sunset Trail, believe it or not, is not actually owned by Prairie Sunset Trail. They are stewards of the trail. And this is something that needs to be very clear. Prairie Sunset Trail, they do not own the trail. So by all technical and legal consideration, they don't have a right for cities to annex them, given the fact that they don't actually own the trail. They are stewards of the trail. The trail is owned by the rail department. And so that's something to take into account. What we're planning on doing with our trail within the city limits is continuing to maintain it because we're partners of Prairie Sunset Trail, just like Garden Plain is probably partners of Prairie Sunset Trail for maintaining it. So usually it's going to be maintained by Prairie Sunset Trail, and we will continue to help them with stewarding the maintenance of it.
I have a question. Is all of your water on rural water at this point?
No, the city has our own water wells.
Okay,
Yes, and we've acquired more water rights to continue to pump water. The Rural Water District number 4, which is one of our partners, is we can pump water from Rural Water District if we need to, and if Rural Water District needs it, we can give them water. So we have a partnership with them, but we have our own water wells, and we've acquired more water rights to put in more water wells so that we can continue to serve the surrounding population.
okay, so all your water is coming from wells then?
That's right.
What you're saying?
That's right.
Okay. The other question I have, I think I know the answer to this, but is any of your expanded area come into conflict with the solar panel people, the data center people's land that they're
So I'm
proposing
not
this?
sure if any places around us that I'm aware of have been platted or zoned or anything for solar panels or data centers. I'm not sure about that. That would be more of a county question. I'm not sure if the county has approved any zoning for solar panels or battery around that green area. Not that I'm aware of, but I can't answer that question.
Okay. Do you know, Scott, if it does? Have we checked that out?
No, we've not had any applications come in for new applications for data centers or solar panels. The only thing that I can think of is Buffalo Flats. I'm not sure where it is in relationship exactly. It's a little bit further to the west, so it's outside of this area.
Okay. I guess my last question is, the drawing that's up on the board, is that your wish list, or is that set in stone, or are you
This is what was,
negotiable or not?
yeah, I mean, if it's really going to come back down to it being rejected or not, that would be a serious thing to consider. But this was presented to Planning Commission and City Council. Planning Commission approved it based on reasonable growth expectations, and so did City Council. The city's recommendation would be to simply approve this and let it move on to MAPC for review and consideration. If there's any concerns about amendments, then I would simply bring it back to staff. We would discuss it internally, and we would bring it up to Planning Commission, City Council about continuing that conversation about amendments to the map. But this is what we believe is a realistic expectation of growth and development over time. As mentioned, our comprehensive plan is 2015. We're currently going through our new comprehensive plan, and it's very realistic to expect that our growth and development and annexations will occur within that green area.
Okay. Any other questions for this speaker? Yes, Commissioner McKay.
Sir, a while ago, you were giving a dissertation between you and Garden Plain about who should or shouldn't give the right. I noticed on the east side of you've taken quite a bit of ground. It's in Wichita's area of influence. Does that statement you made hold water and when it comes to the east side of your application?
I missed some of that. I'm sorry. It's kind of hard to hear.
Okay, a while ago you gave a dissertation on who has the right, Garden Plain or Goddard, because you're encroaching on their area of influence on the east side of your application. You're also doing it on Wichita's. Does your philosophy hold true on the east side as well as the west?
Yes, I mean, for one thing, Wichita doesn't have an area of influence. They have an urban growth area. And so for us, you have to understand that the area of influence has to do with review of upcoming projects. What Wichita's urban growth area is more about is how they think that they're going to grow into 2035. What we're saying is this gives us a review. The green gives us review of future projects, knowing that we're going to be annexing them into the future. So Wichita doesn't have an area of influence because they're not reviewing projects around that area. They're simply saying we're going to be growing into this area into the future. So for us, we think it's very reasonable. Once again, the green is just simply saying, hey, give us a review of what's coming so that when we see those projects, we have that review period and that we can actually have some consideration of it. It doesn't, the green and the area of influence doesn't give us carte blanche to do whatever we want. It just simply says, give us an option so that we can review these projects, because in all likelihood, we're going to be the ones annexing those projects in the future.
Thank you.
Yes, Counselor, you have a question?
Kirk Sponson, Deputy County Councilor. Yeah, Scott Wadle, we had some conversations. Scott, you want to bring up something later, or you want me to address it now?
I think now would be a good time because we are getting into the mix between urban areas, urban growth areas and urban areas of influence and how they relate to each other.
Okay, some of this conversation has aired into the realm of the discussion of the urban growth area versus the urban area of influence. It is true that City of Wichita does not have an urban area of influence. I would refer, I believe it was on prior slides, but I would refer in the Unified Zoning Code to section 1G regarding the urban areas of influence. There are a couple sections there that are really relevant to this discussion. The first is section 1, which says a city's urban area of influence is the area comprising the urban growth area of the city as set out in the current joint city-county comprehensive plan adopted by the MAPC. A city's urban area of influence may be enlarged on request of the city and approval by the Board of County Commissioners after recommendation of the MAPC. I believe the second sentence has been emphasized already, but I would bring emphasis to the first sentence, which really indicates there's a clear nexus between the urban growth area and the urban area of influence. As such, I would actually propose that if the board were wanting to make an amendment to urban areas of influence, that there would be a correlating interest that the urban growth area also be modified as well. So there's a clear connection between the two as established by the code provisions. As such, I would also recommend that some of your considerations regarding urban areas of influence also include those considerations of the urban growth area, which are: what's the growth and development of the area for the next 10 years? Is the city able to and interested in extending services to those areas? Also, are they interested in extending infrastructure to those areas as well? So this is a little bit more of a nuanced consideration.
You want to expand on that, Scott?
I would just emphasize that in terms of your decision-making, you have the ability to recommend that the full MAPC would approve this. But as Kirk said, what I want to highlight is that if you do that, the recommendation also needs to include reducing the city of Wichita's urban growth area to correspond with what you're recommending in terms of your recommendation if you make one to enlarge this.
So, but if, by doing that, does that also limit the ability of the city of Wichita to annex property, and that it gives Goddard first right to, or gives them special weight with the Board of County Commissioners in annexation cases?
Annexation cases are considered differently now. As part of those considerations, especially for island annexations, one of the questions is, does it hinder the development or growth of the surrounding area or of other cities in the area? So that would be a consideration. I have to say that is separate from what you are considering here, but what could ultimately be a factor is if you were to approve this as presented, you would basically be allowing Goddard to have influence over areas that the city of Wichita is projected to grow into.
Scott?
And also to add more to that, because I think your question is trying to get at what would be the impact to Wichita in relationship to future growth. The other thing to be aware of is that the urban growth areas, at least certainly for Wichita, it certainly goes into where are they expecting to expand infrastructure, and the boundaries of this urban growth area for Wichita was established based on where they expect that they could reasonably expand water and sewer services in large part, because that is the constraining infrastructure.
Have we had any input from the city of Wichita on this request?
So well, the zoning code requires that the planning director, myself, notify any affected cities. So I provided notification to both Garden Plain and to the city of Wichita. The notification goes out to their mayor, and I also sent it to the manager or administrator.
And nothing from them yet?
No official response yet.
How long ago was that?
It was earlier this week, on Monday.
Scott,
Mr. Warren?
Yeah, I think that gets us to the point where this process began years ago when there was a tendency to want to, maybe a land grab or worry that you were going to, if you didn't identify it now, you're going to lose the opportunity to it. Something that come along later and take it from you. It came about to encourage cities to talk to each other and come up with a plan as to, what are you able to take care of and who's going to be most likely to provide those services. We haven't heard anything from Mays. We haven't heard anything from Garden Plain. We haven't heard anything from Clearwater or Hayesville. I'm not sure what entities would want to tap in on this, but I would think that we would need to talk with them before we give one person a map that puts it under their purview, that we would have the opportunity to check, make sure that that's in thinking with the other communities in the area.
Are you talking about public comment? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you could always say that, a representative from Garden Plain is in attendance, so if you want to hear.
Any other questions? Oh, Commissioner McKay.
Going back to my question a while ago is, I realize that we don't have an area of influence in Wichita or the city. But right now, I think your area of influence is presently that I go by the blue map, blue map. There's like 17 sections of ground. You're asking for an additional over 30 sections of ground. Now, I know you may have good wells, and you may be well organized, but that's a big, big jump, because you have to provide water, sewer, fire protection, all at the same time.
Other comments? Okay. We're going to change the rules just a little bit here. Kind of treating this like a case that would be presented. So we're going to open it up for public comment right now, but just about what we're talking about. So is there anyone here that would like to speak on this in public? Yes. Please state your name, address. You will have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate you having me. My name is Kelly McElroy. I'm the Garden Plain City Administrator. I have been there approximately 3 years, and in a previous life also worked for the City of Goddard, so have a deep appreciation for what they're going through. I was their development director for several years when we were building the initial Star Bond project. So Garden Plain initiated the processing steps with the public hearings at our planning commission, at our city council, to request an amendment to our urban area of influence. That started in March. We informed Goddard in writing of our intent to expand to the west to 247th Street at that point. We are finishing up, we actually have our planning commission meeting tonight. We are adopting the recommended document of a resolution in addition to the meeting minutes, the comprehensive plans, the CIPs, those other documents. And as soon as we get that done this evening, the council's already approved it last week at their meeting, that will be submitted to MAPD staff. So I'm happy to answer questions you all might have. I know this is not a chance for me to pitch our project at this point in time, but that is just the relevancy. In regards to the Prairie Sunset Trail, it was before I was the manager. Looking back through the records, it happened in mid to late 2020. It did go through all the proper hearings and protocols at our planning commission, at our city council. county council advised at that time, Mr. Wagner, we have letters in writing that said that it would not be opposed by the Board of County Commissioners. It was a consent annexation request that came on behalf of parade travelers because we maintained that portion of the trail for them. My staff does. And our insurance carrier at the time was very concerned that our staff was working on property that was private property outside of our jurisdiction. So they were worried about, liability for workman's comp and also equipments and damages and things like that. So I'm happy to answer questions.
Commissioner Eldridge.
Yes, Administrator, you just said that your plan is looking at going west to 247th Street?
To 247th, yes, because that's where our school district ends, Renwick.
Okay.
That's where the Garden Plains zip code ends, and that's where our city limit ends.
And if I might ask, how far south and how far north? I don't care about west at this point.
The Planning Commission and the City Council's request to the north is to 21st Street. And then you said, I'm sorry, sir, you said south to 39th Street. We have several existing housing developments there that are on Garden Plain utilities already. They are outside the city limit, but we do provide services to them.
Thank you.
Commissioner High.
What's your current growth trajectory?
That's a good question. Actually, we just had the same Lightcast data pulled for us recently through our partners at the Regional Economic Area Partnership because we are working on a revamp of our comprehensive plan. Our current plan was adopted in 2020, and most of it is residential in nature for growth. We are a bedroom community. We do have some industrial and commercial properties, but it's definitely residential for us. I don't know that I could give you a specific number at this time, but it will be part of our proposal coming forward to expand our area. It's been pretty significant. We literally have a handful of platted lots left in town because we have developed so much over the last 3 to 5 years. Like Goddard, Renwick District is very desirable to be in. You can be in Wichita in 20 minutes, but still have the quiet small town feeling. Right now, we're about somewhere between 1,200-ish people, maybe a little more than that is what I would estimate.
Do you have any permits that are in that area of influence?
Not at this time because it's outside of our current area of influence.
Thank you.
Yep.
See no other questions.
Thank you for the
being
opportunity.
here. Anyone else would like to speak on this from the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the committee here. You guys quickly got above my pay grade when the legal counsel got involved here, so I'm not quite sure where we need to go at this point, so I would accept some advice.
Sure. Sir, I think, first off, the recommendation is to receive and file for right now because we know that that this committee likes to receive the items, kind of chew on it for at least one meeting and then have another opportunity at a following meeting to take action. But if you choose to take action, there are a number of typical actions that you can do. You can recommend approval. You can recommend approval with changes or modifications, or you can recommend denial. And the other thing that I would add to that too is that if there's any other information or questions that you have that you would like staff to work on, we're certainly willing, you can mention those, and we're certainly willing and able to work on those for you.
Commissioner Warren.
Yeah, I'm be leaning towards receiving and filing the report for now. And then definitely we want to get a hold of any of the communities that are around this area to get their input, see if they feel like they're getting infringed upon.
Second.
We did get a second? Okay.
Is that date specified on a deferral? Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Warren, a second by, I'm still not sure. Oh, okay.
Kirk Spons, Deputy County
Commissioner
Counsel.
Johnson, I'm sorry.
If I may I have just 1 minute to refer to the code for a second? I just want to double check something on the.
Okay.
While he's doing that, if I can, sir, what I would like to also share is that we have the public hearing scheduled for the MAPC on June 25th, and that has been advertised. And that date was selected when we received the application materials from Goddard out in the past quite a bit. So what will happen is that regardless of whatever action you take today, it will show up on the MAPC meeting because it has been scheduled and advertised as a public hearing then. If you choose not to take action on it today and you receive and file, it will show up as an item, but this recommended action that we will provide on the staff report for that item will be to defer it to a date certain further down the road. That way, everyone is aware that there's a public hearing, but that the recommended action is not to hold it and for it to happen at a later date.
Kirk Sponsel, Deputy County Counselor. In looking at the process for this, there's certainly a requirement that ultimately, not necessarily at this level, but at the MAPC level, that the mayor and planning commission of any affected city, the MAPC and the BOCC be informed of the date, time, and place of the formal hearing, which would be at MAPC, not necessarily here. With that said, because this is part of the process, I would recommend that if you are wanting to take the action on receive and file, I would recommend that you put out some sort of end date where it has to come back to you, be brought back to the advanced plans within 90 days or something like that. I think that would be reasonable, but also establish expectations for for interested parties.
Okay. Commissioner Warren, you want to revise that?
Would the September, the first advanced plan meeting in September?
And that would be on September 10th.
Maybe we'll bring it back to the Advanced Plans Committee on September the 10th?
You could do that, or no later than September 10th. That way, if staff believe they have the appropriate information available, they could bring it sooner.
What do you think, staff?
So far, the comments that I've heard are making sure that the information request that you all have is to make sure that any possibly affected cities would be contacted and made aware of the opportunity. I haven't heard any other data requests coming beyond that, so we can certainly do that by September 10th.
Is there any way we can get a little bit more firm, the population projections?
Probably the best thing that we could do is invite someone from WSU to come, and then that way you can ask them questions about how the other projections were compiled, and that would give you a chance to hear from both information sources.
Would that be helpful to the rest of the members?
It's based on what we've heard already. It's still going to be contradicted by Goddard. So I don't know if it would be necessary to waste the time of anybody else on that.
Commissioner McKay.
If we're talking about the delay and the time elapse and stuff, then I would put it on the applicant's responsibility to make sure that he can provide information to this committee and the MAPC, their abilities to perform on infrastructure and stuff like that. Because right now, he was comparing Goddard to Garden Plain, and there's no comparison. We all know that. But there's no comparison between Goddard and Wichita city limits and area for growth either. So I would suggest that we put a little burden on them to come up with something other than just this, because if we go through the same process, we're going to be looking at the same thing in September. Thank you.
Commissioner Warren?
I'll amend my motion to have a not later than date to bring it back for review to the September 10th meeting.
Commissioner Johnson, do you second
Yes.
that also? Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Warren and a second by Commissioner Johnson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Yes, Commissioner. Okay.
I'm a little slow this morning. In that motion, anything we just talked about, putting responsibility on them to give us some kind of projection of their abilities to do what they've done and everything in that motion, and I'm sorry, Chuck.
No problem.
So something ought to be in there to show performance to them, because we're not really doing anything, in my opinion.
I concur.
So is that another motion you made, John? Okay,
No, I was just asking if the motion maker, and then we could back up and make
Okay.
that part of the motion. I thought that was.
and Commissioner Warren accepts that.
Yeah, and Kirk Sponsel, Deputy County Counselor, I certainly appreciate your, as it was previously conveyed, you expressed an interest in also the applicant potentially bringing more information on growth or infrastructure development throughout the area, things of that nature. You can't compel them to, but I think your interest has been reflected.
Thank you.
I guess we're ready to go on to the next topic. Next on our agenda is a presentation for the Sedgwick County Capital Improvement Plan. Lynn Packer, Director of Sedgwick County Public Works, will present this. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, committee members, staff. Today, we are here to present to you the tentative capital improvement program. Next slide, please. Our goal overall is to show that we are in alignment with the comprehensive plan. To that end, we have several presentations we'll be making. We've already started to have, we're in a full swing of our budget season for 2027. We've already started those internal meetings. Today, we are presenting to you. If all goes well, we'll be presenting to the full MAPC on June 25th. The manager will present his recommended budget along with this CIP, this tentative CIP on July 15th. And then on July 19th, we'll have the first public meeting at BOCC. And then on August 26th, we'll be looking at budget adoption, which includes a 5-year CIP. Next slide, please. So for the county, a capital project is a project that maintains, improves, expands county assets. It does not include equipment, vehicles, software, office furniture, or anything like that. We're talking roads, bridges, buildings, parks, et cetera. It has to meet two criteria, one of two criteria. It's either got to be new construction, expansion, or renovation that has of an existing asset that has a total cost of at least $50,000 for the life of the project. Or it can be a maintenance or rehab project that has a total cost of at least $25,000 and an economic life of at least 5 years. Next slide, please. So what does the CIP do? In essence, it identifies capital needs, prioritizes those needs into a plan, fits the needs into those needs into our budget, and then communicates plans to the citizens. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, overall, our goal today is to show that we are in alignment with the comprehensive plan. The current comprehensive plan was adopted by BOCC in January 2016. It covers a 20-year period from 2015 through 2035. And right now, I'm going to have Paul Kavanaugh, our manager for project services, come up and talk to you about the facilities and drainage projects that are in our tentative plan.
Morning, everyone. Paul Kavanaugh with Project Services for the county. Good to see you all again and good to be seen. Project Services breaks the CIP program down into 4 categories, and we'll go through them a step at a time, and I'll hit the high notes. If you see other projects that you want to stop and ask questions about, feel free to do that. But I know you've got a long agenda, so we'll move right along. Category 1, Part 1, if you want to go to the next slide. That is the highest priority, urgent, or consistent with existing long-term preventive maintenance scheduled projects like the flood control system, replacing roofs, replacing parking lots. The alert siren system is continually upgraded until through 2029. And the building automation system replacement is in process. This will be its 3rd year. So that's on Part 1. If you see anything there that you want to ask about, feel free. If not, we'll go on to the next slide, which is the second half of Category 1. A few high spots there. The Ronald Reagan Mechanical Equipment is. That's this building, right? Huh? That is this building, sir. That is absolutely right. The one that I work in every day. And it's the life expectancy on the equipment has pretty much lived its useful life. So we have a pretty good bond for that. The next one is the Forensic Science Center DNA lab remodel, which we have sent out proposal requests to architects. Should be getting that back in later this month, and we'll assess and analyze that. That's going to be a pretty good project. 911 radio system, again, it's gotten aged and needs to be replaced and upgraded. The other projects are pretty standard. The next category is.
Sir, could you talk about the Emergency Preparedness Center? It's 20 million and 28. What is that? I'm not familiar with it. Is that a new facility? Or is it a replacement?
You're talking about the DNA Forensic Science
No,
Center?
the one at the bottom of that chart,
Yeah,
Emergency.
Emergency Preparedness Center, yeah, that is correct. That's a new project. And the first year will be design and assessment, and 2028 will be construction will start.
What is it? Is it a replacement or is it something new?
It is a new facility that will consolidate all of those entities into one facility. It's really fresh on the boards right now, so
This-
you'll want to stay posted on that one. Category 2, again, is projects that are not quite as urgent or well-defined, but should be looked at. The first one on that list is the Joint Sheriff's and Kansas Highway Patrol hangar at the Jabara Airport. Right now, they don't have good facilities to protect the airplanes out there. The rest of them, the Munger Building, boiler and chiller, adult residential facility shower replacements, EMS video surveillance at 17 posts. They get a lot of vandalism at their posts, so that hopefully will take care of that. And then the Cowskin Creek drainage project. Any questions on that one?
Yes,
I have
Commissioner
one.
Aldridge.
Yeah, How can we get moved up if something's in a category, a lower category, than the highest priority, for example, the Joint Sheriff and the Kansas Highway Patrol? How to get that moved up higher on the list? Yes. I'd be happy to get you in touch with the CIP committee members and let you state that case to them. That's kind of how that works. The CIP committee members all get together and look at all the projects that have been asked for by all the departments. And they go through and assess it by how critical they are and rank them in that order. So if this needs to go up, it would be worthwhile to have someone from your group talk to that committee.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. That one was on the line, by the way, listening to the conversations. It was on the line, so a little bit of nudge would be good. Category 2, Part 2. Again, not quite as urgent. District court security upgrades, that has to do with a lot of the judges' chambers and judges' court clerks. They don't really have any solid security like a pass card or video alert to see who's at the doors. So we'd like to upgrade that for all the judges in the courthouse. The rest of these items pretty much will extend into 2029. Cowskin Creek
employee turnstiles and access control at the courthouse, juvenile courthouse flooring, and ADA facility evaluation and report. Next slide. This is category 3, projects that are on the horizon. We're keeping an eye on them to see how they might bubble up. Planned really for 2030, the extension office, juvenile detention facility booking flooring, Munger building restroom additions, and then FEMA parcels that have grown up. We want to clear and grub those, but that's not until 2031. Any questions on that one? Next slide. Category 4 is watch list. They really ranked lower as the CIP committee reviewed them in terms of their intensity, or we would like to have a little bit more information. The first 6 or 7, I think you've probably seen before. The ones at the bottom of that page, the last 3, construct an EMS garage facility. In a lot of places, they have to leave the equipment outside, and we'd like to create some spaces for them to be garaged. Renovate the EMS administration building. And then EMS post 4 needs to be replaced. Next slide. This is the last projects that require additional information. Again, some of these I think you've probably seen before, but the main courthouse fire alarm system replacement has just come up recently, and the equipment has become antiquated, and it's hard to get parts and replacement components for that. ComCare Complex, that is another fresh project that we're having to take a closer look at, something that just came online very recently. And then the Health Department, KU Medical Building renovation. We're in discussion to take over that building and renovate it into Health Department uses. Next slide, totals by the project type. You can kind of see that. Facility is 2027, 46 million. Drainage is 740,000. And then it goes on through the next 5 years. And the next slide, totals by funding source. Next slide. There it is, funding source. Bond is 41 million and the cash is 5.6 million. Anything I can answer there? If not, I'm going to turn it over to my friend Lynn, and he can take you through the rest of the roads and bridges. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll continue and go on to what a lot of people equate to our CIP, and that's our roads and bridges. Next slide, please. So first of all, for those of you that may not have heard our presentation of the last couple of years, our infrastructure and the unincorporated part of the county consists of almost 582 miles of roads, 608 bridges. We maintain more bridges than any other jurisdiction in Kansas, with the exception of KDOT. We have over 15,000 traffic signs and markers, as well as 29 traffic signals that we maintain. And something a lot of people don't realize, in the unincorporated part of the county, we have over 1.76 million miles driven on our infrastructure every day. Next slide, please. In keeping with the comprehensive plan, our projects for road and bridge are really cut into 4 different categories. Basically, it's to maintain, to enhance, to expand, and add quality of place. Next slide, please. The difference between what you may have heard last year, for those of you that were with advanced plans or MAPC last year, to what's going on this year. for our new 5-year CIP. Really, the biggest changes are going to be an increase in funding to those existing projects to keep up with labor and material costs. We've added 9 new projects into the CIP, most of those occurring in the 2030, 2031 timeframe. And we have a lot of partnerships. We have partnership with KDOT, Wichita, Goddard, Park City, a lot of partnerships with WAMPO and a couple of Butler County as well. Next slide, please. So under our category for maintaining our road system, that's really going to be under 3 of our CIPs, and that's, preventive maintenance, drainage projects, getting additional right-of-way, relocating utilities. We plan to spend almost $60 million over the next 5 years on such projects. Next slide, please. For maintaining our bridge system, we're planning to either rehab or replace 26 bridges. 22 of those bridges will be replacements. 5 bridges will be rehabilitation projects. And then we have 4 bridge projects total that will be added to the CIP. And that total cost is expected to be about $30.5 million. Next slide, please. The proposed CIP has 15 road and intersection improvements that will be enhanced. We have 3 paved roads that we're going to make improvements to, 10 gravel roads that are basically going to go from gravel to paved in nature, and 2 intersection enhancement projects. The total cost for those is estimated to be about almost $31 million. Next slide, please. So for road expansion, we're looking at, and you guys may be familiar with some of these projects, ARC 95, which is down on 95th Street down by Derby, between Derby and Hayesville. It's a project that is going to add a bridge, an overpass over the BNSF K-15 and the river, Ark River, to get connection between basically the far east end of the county and the central western part of the county on 95th Street. We're looking at putting in about $250,000 a year. We're also going to get Derby, Hayesville, and Mulvane are all participating in that project. Yes, sir.
Quick question, do you know whether or not the Class 1 railroad would be helping fund any portion of that?
They are not putting any money into the overpass because we are only looking at potentially removing a single residential access point along the rail. However, they have agreed to allow us to put our piers for the bridge within their right-of-way, which if you know anything about the railroad, that's huge for them to allow us to do that.
43 years in the industry.
There you go. The Northwest Expressway is another road expansion project that we are active with. Right now, we're looking at about $740,000 a year from the county. Again, Goddard and Mays contribute to that project as well. A lot of the money right now is going toward right-of-way acquisition. They are undergoing a major investment study right now, so things are a little bit in limbo. This project has been around since 1998. It has gone through various ups and downs, and we're at a flux where we're reconfirming the necessity for this route, and we have an active group that is doing a economic investment study. KDOT is conducting their own infrastructure investment study, and then we hope to have all that information by the beginning of next year to be able to determine how we're going to be moving forward with that. I am sure, based on the results of that MIS, some of that, when we come up to you next year, you'll see some differences in funding based on how we are going forward with that. Another infrastructure project that we're working on with KDOT is the East Kellogg improvements, which just started. We committed about $4.4 million from the county to assist with that, along with Butler County, Andover, City of Wichita, and us. KDOT obviously has the brunt of that cost. We also are working with KDOT and the City of Wichita on K-96 improvements. We'll expand that from a 4-lane to a 6-lane freeway. In the next 5 years, we're looking at about $12 million investment.
Lynn, on that Northeast Expressway improvement proposal, was there a MIS done on that to expand it?
On the Northeast Expressway?
To expand it to 6 lanes? Was there an MIS?
My understanding, I am not aware of a major investment study done on the Northeast Expressway.
So what was the justification to expand it from 4 to 6?
Justification is based on a current level of service of traffic. So when traffic engineers look at roadways and highways, they look at the level of service you're getting, rate from an A to an F. And the level of service is getting a little bit lower. We're getting into the Cs and Ds based on the time of day. So they've identified a need to widen out and enhance that system.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. So under quality of place, we have a couple of projects. And it does look like a very minimal amount of money going into these projects. We have Maple Street Bike Path, which is basically going to connect on Maple Street, Wichita Bikes Path with the city of Goddard's along Maple Street and going down 167th. Our total commitment to that right now is about $320,000. However, that is because we're paying 20 cents on the dollar. WAMPO is partnering with us on that, bringing federal funds to the table. Overall, it's a $1.6 million project, but thanks for our partnerships and with having an MPO in this area, they're going to cover 80% of that cost. Our next project is the 63rd Street pathway. We've already got a connection to the Derby pathway on 63rd Street South out by Rock Road. It goes to a subdivision over by Lynn Ray, about 2.5 miles east of Rock Road. This project will continue that into Rose Hill and then connect with the bike path that goes north of Rose Hill. That project, again, the county investment is about $400,000. Overall, though, for the entire stretch going up into Rose Hill, that's about a $2 million project. And again, we're paying 20 cents on the dollar here locally for that project. Yes?
Yeah, Lynn, from the dollars that's spent on the bike path and the expansion and the connection, how many bike users, riders, joggers, do you estimate, per year would be utilizing that?
MPO has those numbers. I can get you those numbers. I am not familiar with them right now off the top of my head. We are expecting that the use of both of those to increase because of the connections they're making with adjacent cities. That's kind of the role the county has played with a lot of these bike paths. We're in there, we've made connections between Mulvane and Derby. We're making connections between Goddard and Wichita, in this case, Derby and Rose Hill. So we kind of fill those in-between spots. And what we have historically found is that the use of those bike paths, when they were individual, was at one number, but obviously we saw a significant increase once we made those connections and allowed for an alternative type of travel between those cities.
Thank you.
Yes.
What was the organization you named that we could go over?
Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. They are actually located right outside the store on the left. Okay, so overall, we're looking at about a total of $3.6 million that is going into quality of place. Locally, though, we're spending about $0.7 million in that category. Next slide, please. So finishing up here, over the next 5 years, we're looking, as you can tell on the chart in front of you, the majority of our funds is clearly going to maintaining our roads. The comprehensive plan has acknowledged that we have a good road system. Our plan has always been, and our goal is to maintain that good road system. We have about $30.5 million going to maintain our bridges, enhancing our roads, going from a paved road to or a gravel road to a paved road, or expanding their shoulders or expanding the lane widths. That's about $30.8 million. Expanding our road system like K96, East Kellogg, Arc 95, Northwest Expressway, that's almost $12 million. And then our quality of place is at $0.7 million. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, our goal is to show you that we are in concurrence with the comprehensive plan. Next slide. So every year by law, our CIP must be reviewed by MAPC for consistency with the city-county comprehensive plan. As I mentioned, we're here today to talk to you, and then if all goes well, we will be in front of the full MAPC on June 25th. Next slide, please. There are two goals that we try to achieve in the comprehensive plan to show that we are in line. And the first is community investments in transportation. That's to preserve and maintain a safe, cost-effective, and reliable transportation system that strategically supports the economic growth, vitality, and quality of life aspirations of our community. Next slide. We feel that we have achieved that goal with this tentative CIP. The proposed CIP continues to make our most investments, which is about 67% of the money in preservation of the existing road system. The next slide, please. The other goal is to improve and increase the movement of goods, people, and information with better connectivity and mobility in the communities. Next slide. We think, again, we have met that goal by our investments in the bicycle and pedestrian facilities. We're also continuing to invest in long-range planning, like the Northwest Expressway and ARC 95. Next slide, please. So our requested action here today is that the Advanced Plans Committee recommend to the full MAPC that they find that the proposed 2027-2031 improvement program is in conformance with the current community investments program. And next slide, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer anything you might have. Otherwise, we ask for a vote of confidence from this committee.
I'd like to move for approval of CIP from the county.
I'd like to second that, but I also would humbly request that and I'll do what I can on my end, for the joint sheriff and Kansas Highway Patrol hangar be moved up to a higher category.
Okay. John, did you make a motion?
Yes, I made a motion to approve the CIP, county CIP.
Okay. And you seconded it? Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner McKay and a second by Commissioner Aldrich.
Does the motion include Mr. Aldrich's highway patrol addendum or not? I guess I'm not clear.
Fine with me.
Kirk Sponsor, Deputy County Councilor, I don't think it actually would. The approval today would be that it's in conformance with the comprehensive plan. That's consideration today.
Okay.
If I may.
I was just making a comment in there, just trying to.
If I may, I am a member of the Capital Improvement Program Committee with county. What I can tell you is one of the reasons why it is in a Category 2 versus a Category 1 right now is because of the timing of the project. Most of the Category 1 projects are occurring in 21, 28. The second category really kind of, they aren't totally limited to a time frame, but they are in another. Our Category 2 projects are in 28 and 29, and we're not expecting to be available. We've been told they do not expect the new hangar and everything to be ready for construction and expenses until the end of 28 and 29, which is why that project is a Category 2 versus a Category 1, if that helps at all.
It does, and thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Commissioner Frye, are you okay with the motion now? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes, I guess, is Joe still here? 6-0, I guess?
6-0.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you. Next item on the agenda will be an update on data centers by Justin Constantino.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Justin Constantino to provide an update regarding data centers. Next slide, please. We'll go to the next slide, please. Just a quick note that Wichita-Sedgwick County is not currently considering any specific data center applications as part of this process, and the regulations and guidance that we're considering are joint. They're both for the city of Wichita and for Sedgwick County. Next slide, please. So overview, I'm going to show some maps. Some of these maps you have seen before. We do have an update. At our last Advanced Plans Committee meeting, there was a request to show some images regarding high-quality agricultural land. So I have some updates on that. I will provide a brief regulatory authorities update. We will go over the draft comprehensive plan document briefly and then open it up to discussion and questions. Next slide, please. So maps and information. Next slide, please. Significant factors in terms of the types of maps that we're providing to you include electricity, the location of substations, and transmission lines, specifically 345 kilovolt lines. I'll go into that in greater detail shortly. Data, affordable land, and water are also significant data center location factors. Next slide, please. So this is the Sedgwick County Electric Substation map. We've provided this to you both virtually and physically, so you have copies of these maps. Let's go to the next slide, please. This map better demonstrates the electric substation and zoning map. You could see those 345 kilovolt lines depicted on the map in brown there. Everything in zone on the zoning map that is green, that is zoned rural residential. Next slide, please. Here's the substation map and lines map along with our industrial zoning districts. You can see everything that is zoned. Industrial is colored in light blue there. That light blue is limited industrial, and then anything in gray is general industrial. Next slide, please. This is the electric substation map and urban growth areas map. You're all familiar with the urban growth areas map, but we wanted to go ahead and overlay those transmission lines over that map for you. Next slide, please. This is the Sedgwick County electric transmission line with 1 and 3 mile buffer. During this process, we've learned that there is a typical desire to be located along those transmission lines. We want to just depict what that would look like with a 1 and 3 mile buffer. Next slide, please. This is the 100-year and 500-year floodplain map. Anything depicted in the colored areas is the 100-year floodplain. Anything in the pink, so you see little splotches located throughout this map here, is the 500-year floodplain. Next slide, please. This is a map from the U.S. Geological Survey. It depicts groundwater levels and depths to water in Sedgwick County, Kansas. It's a little bit of an older map, but we always want to include it because it's very informational. Next slide, please. This is one of the newer maps that we have. You have a physical copy of this map located on your desk. We did reach out to the Kansas Farm Bureau based on questions from the Advanced Plans Committee at our last meeting to see if we can get maps and information depicting prime farmland or prime agricultural land throughout Sedgwick County. This map in particular is an older map. I believe it's dated from 1980, and it's important farmlands. And anything depicted in green is considered prime farmland. Anything in yellow is additional farmland of statewide importance. And then anything in pink is additional farmland of local importance. So you'll see the concentrated area in gray there. That's typically the Wichita city limits and beyond. But anything in green is considered prime farmland according to this map. Next slide, please. We also received another map from the NRCS. That's a Natural Resource Conservation Service. This map is from 2024, and it identifies high productivity agricultural land. So anything in the darker green is considered high productivity. Anything in the lighter green is moderately high productivity. And then as we get a little bit lighter, even lighter green, moderate productivity. Anything in yellow is moderately low. Anything in blue, there's not a lot of blue located on this map, but anything in blue is considered low productivity. So again, this map came from the NRCS, and it's dated from 2024. And you have larger physical copies located at your desk. Next slide, please. This map is from the American Farmland Trust. Again, this was provided by the Kansas Farm Bureau, and we're very grateful that they were able to send this over. Really anything shown in green on this map is considered farmland, and anything in yellow is considered rangeland. So you see a lot of the rangeland located to the east there. Anything located in green, again, is considered farmland. Anything red is considered UHD, which is urban and highly developed, or LDR, which is considered low density residential. So you could see a lot of the red surrounding the city limits of the city of Wichita, but primary location in western Sedgwick County in particular is identified green as farmland. Next slide, please. Regulatory authorities. Let's go to the next slide, please. We've provided this regulatory authorities grid a couple times. No changes from this meeting to the last meeting, but it is a continual work in progress. So as we get information, we will continue to update this. Really, the intent here is to identify the topics that have been brought up at these meetings and the categories, breaking down those categories, and then the authority of who oversees those specific areas. Next slide, please. That takes me into the draft comprehensive plan document. I'll pause there in case anybody has any questions regarding the maps that were provided today. And then if not, I'll dive into the comprehensive plan document, the draft. Okay. Seeing none at this time, I will go into the draft comprehensive plan document. Next slide, please. So as we've discussed before, the comprehensive plan provides guidance and it informs the unified zoning code. This is a joint process. So regarding data centers, if we are looking to update language, it would be to both the unified zoning code and the comprehensive plan. But for the sake of our conversation this morning, I will focus primarily on the comprehensive plan. Next slide, please. So key considerations, I will note that the draft language that you have in front of you, it breaks the topic down into plan context and perspective. There is a note at the top of the comprehensive plan document stating that because of their size and type of use, large data centers can have benefits and pose challenges for communities. They vary greatly in size and scale. Smaller data center facilities may function similarly to traditional office or utility uses, while hyperscale campuses can require substantial infrastructure investments and resources. So those key considerations are listed on the page here. It's also found in the document. Those key considerations include infrastructure and services capacity, environmental impacts, land use compatibility, and long-term economic outcomes. Next slide, please. Environmental and quality of life impacts, to dive deeper into that, this is language from the draft comprehensive plan document. It says that it can pose unique environmental considerations due to their size and type of use. That potentially includes air emissions from backup generators, noise from cooling systems, heat generation and energy consumption, and water use and wastewater discharge. Next slide, please. There are 5 goals identified within the comprehensive document. I'll briefly go through each of those goals. The strategies are listed specifically in the document, but goal number 1 is to ensure data center development is compatible with community infrastructure service capacity and existing land use patterns. Next slide, please. Goal number 2 is to mitigate environmental and quality of life impacts associated with data center development. Those strategies are listed there. That includes reducing noise, requiring noise studies and establishing air quality emissions, encouraging or require energy efficient design, etc. Next slide, please. Goal number 3 is to provide a clear and comprehensive regulatory framework for data centers, and that would be defined in the Unified Zoning Code, defining large-scale, hyperscale data centers, and identifying the appropriate zoning districts or overlay areas where those could be appropriate. Next slide, please. Utilizing agreements and ensuring compliance with development standards and requirements. Next slide, please. And goal 5, maintaining flexibility to respond to evolving technology and market conditions to appropriately regulate facilities. So that includes periodically evaluating and updating the regulations to reflect technological advancements. Next slide, please. And that leads to discussions and questions. So it was really a 2-parter. The first was to update you on those maps, and then finally to present that draft comprehensive plan document to you again. I know we went over that document last time, but we wanted to go ahead and put that in front of you again. I will note that the action today is to receive and file, and the purpose of this is to have some discussion and answer any of your questions.
I think we have a question from Commissioner Fry.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. I would just ask that on this plan element that we include a date and or version on it somewhere, so that way we know when we're always looking at the newest, and if there are changes, that changes would be made in red, or some other kind of designations that we could quickly see what modifications are made from the previous version, just so that we know we're always looking at the most current. It would be helpful.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, you're done.
Thank you very much.
Our next item will be Kansas tax incentives from our Deputy Counselor, known around here as Kirk. So if you're ready to go.
Actually,
Well,
sir,
and I would happily defer that to the Assistant County Counselor, Tom Henry, on this.
I'm not Kirk. Thomas Henry, Assistant County Counselor, here to talk to you about the potential tax implications and incentives around data centers. First and foremost, we're going to talk about sales tax incentives that were put in place by Kansas legislation last year via Senate Bill 98. What this does is it puts in some requirements for what they're calling qualified data centers in order for them to receive a sales tax exemption. For your purposes, I think the most relevant pieces of what those requirements are include that the investment into those data centers has to meet or exceed $250 million. To be considered a qualified data center, there needs to be at least 20 jobs generated within 2 years of the commencement of operation of that data center. There is also a requirement that the data center use local electricity for, well, let's confirm that. Sorry, it uses electricity from a public utility, 10 years, use electricity from a public utility for that period of time. And then there is also a requirement that there's kind of an application process and agreement that they sign with the Department of Commerce before any of the construction or any of that occurs. There is a 10-year period from when their agreement is signed where they would have to commence construction on that data center in order for them to maintain the exemption for the construction costs. It would cover the personal property and the services that are required as part of constructing a data center. That it can also include reconstruction of a data center, expansion, or other similar types of things to the extent that it meets those qualifications. Next, I'm going to talk about your property taxes. There's two different bodies of property tax I want to talk about. First is personal property, largely because of the law in Kansas, commercial and industrial equipment and machinery is exempt. There are a couple of exceptions. The only one that could apply to data centers if it would somehow be considered an addition to an electric generation facility that is utilizing renewable energy sources. I don't know how likely that is, but it is an exemption that is out there that may bring the property, personal property that is part of a data center and under the ability of local municipalities to tax it. But I think the expectation is that those will be considered CIME or commercial industrial machinery and equipment and would be exempt from taxation, which then leaves the real property left for property tax purposes. And the real property would be subject to taxation. I would note that there is a potential for a city or county to, issue industrial revenue bonds or provide for an EDX for these, which would allow for up to 10 years of a property tax exemption for the real property as well. And again, I don't know how likely or that is or whether or not we should expect that, but that is an option that is out there that these data centers could pursue. So with that, I'll leave it for questions.
Commissioner Eldridge.
Okay, my first question is, does the state of Kansas define construction? What is their definition of construction?
Give me just a second. Is this specific to the sales tax or?
Just in general,
Okay,
related
so
to this?
for Senate Bill 98, they define commencement of construction as the date that, it doesn't really define, it's circular definition. It's the commencement of construction is the date that its construction begins, is the way that they define it, so.
Yeah, that's pretty vague. What I was getting at is that, did it start at earthwork, groundwork, or did it start at when actual, a building was being
It says that that is to be determined by the agreement that is made between the data center and the Department of Commerce. So it would depend on how they structure that agreement, if they define it or not.
Yeah, I'm just sort of curious. I know it's vague, but,
Yeah.
and then going back on the real property, just to get a clarification, are you saying that the state did not issue any type of tax breaks or diversion on the real property for data centers or solar farms?
So I'll speak to the data centers. The real property, that includes your land and your building. Once constructed for personal property tax purposes, there is no incentive specific to data centers. It's just the IRB and the EDX tools that exist for all commercial and industrial building types. And again, that's going to require a city or a county to participate and, I guess, sponsor those is a good way to put it. As it pertains to the sales tax exemption, until the parts are constructed as part of the building, those wouldn't be considered real property. So when acquired, those would still be personal property and would be exempt from the sales tax.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Fry.
Thank you. Appreciate your presentation, Mr. Henry. Quick question related to the sales tax exemption for data centers. You said that was contingent upon 20 jobs within 2 years. Is that
Yes.
permanent jobs or construction jobs, or does it specify?
The way that it's set up, it appears to be actual jobs for ongoing jobs that are required within the data center and running the data center.
And are there clawbacks if they don't?
There's audit requirements throughout the life of, I believe it was every 5 years, and then to the extent the Department of Commerce wants to check in within those in-between periods, they have the opportunity to do so as well.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question. The State Department of Commerce would audit it and oversee it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, I apologize for not introducing you properly, but I was looking at an old agenda. So thank you for being
Not a
here.
problem.
Appreciate it.
I found somebody else better and more qualified to speak on my behalf.
Okay, we're gonna get a MAPD update from Scott.
Sir, in the interest of time, if it's okay, we've got the printed handout that we've distributed, and so rather than go through with the presentation like normally, if everyone could just let me know if you have any questions as follow-up.
Okay, thank you.
Was there anything particular that you wanted to highlight that we should look at, or is it pretty standard report?
Pretty standard. I would just say that we're firing on all cylinders. We've got a lot going on.
Also, before we move on, let the record show that we received and filed the report on tax incentives. We are up to public comments. Would anyone like to speak? Go to the podium. Make sure you talk right into the microphone. You'll have 3 minutes after you state your name and address.
I've done the drill. John Heck, 2942 North Cardington, here in Wichita. Concerning the data centers, I was just going to make a couple of comments quick. Concerning the maps that Justin showed with the productive farmland, it shows how valuable farmland is in Sedgwick County. And just on top of that, I would suggest, since a lot of those maps were green, showing a lot of green, that maybe you take some maps from other counties in Kansas just to compare, because I think that would bring into account just how valuable that the land is for farming here in Sedgwick County. The other comment I was going to make was, if you go to the Kansas Corporation Commission website, they've got a map here. I apologize, I'm going to make a copy of this available to Scott and Justin, but it shows sensitive groundwater areas in the state of Kansas. I know you can't hardly see this from here, but if you take a look at Sedgwick County, it's right in the middle of it. So just making you aware, again, the things that we've talked about, groundwater, it's sensitive in this area. So with that, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for this speaker? See none. Next speaker. Name and address, 3 minutes.
Mike Betson, 19223 West 29th Street North. Last time I was here, we talked, when Ebony was here, talking about Evergy, and they talked about the large load power service plan. And so I've always had a lot of questions about it, so I went back and looked. The LLPS, as it's referred to, is a premium over other industrial by 16 to 18%, or other large users by 8 to 10%. So I went back and looked at, and I presented to the county commissioners yesterday, was how does it compare versus a residential? So I took the KCC's rates that they've approved. I've taken the LLP. I've done all the research. Can't go through it because it's 15-minute discussion. So I did a comparison of a large load data center for 1 gigawatt, which has been proposed around here, and how many residentials would that take to do that? So the large load has where they pay a tariff, a premium of so many dollars, 22 or 23, depending on the time of the year, per kilowatt that they would pull. So I go through that, I go through the transmission and everything. So it would take 730,000 residential customers at 1,000 kilowatts per average. And in Kansas, the average residential uses 876 kilowatts a month. And I've gone through a lot of calculations. I just want to hit some numbers real quick. For transmission and substation fees, large load would pay $400,000 a month. Residential customers, because we pay 2.6 cents per kilowatt for transmission, would be 19 million a month. For the demand fee, the large load would pay $23 million a month. And that's supposed to cover fixed costs and invested costs and other things, and CWIP, construction while in progress. Residential pays about half that, $11 million, because we pay $1,525 a month for each account, 730,000 accounts. The energy fee, LLPS pays less than a penny per kilowatt hour used. So they would pay a little over 6 million. Residential, we pay over 9 cents per kilowatt. And then a little higher in the summer, $66 million a month versus 6. So when you took a total, the large load would pay about $30 million. The residential would pay $96 million. So they get it for 4 cents a kilowatt, all in cost. We pay 13 to 14 cents, all in cost. Now, large load, you get a discount. Not saying they should be equal. But 96 versus 30 million, it's not even close to what you would say comparable. The other thing is with that less than a penny per kilowatt hour usage, that doesn't pay for the energy, the fuel cost. Generally about 25 to 35% of your electric bill is fuel cost. And a penny doesn't cover that because it's going to be anywhere from 3 to 6 cents per kilowatt. It's just for the fuel, coal and natural gas fired. And all this power being put in is going to be natural gas. So continuing education, and we're going to keep looking at this. And I know Mr. Howell wants this stuff, so I'm working on that. Just wanted to point that out. And,
Thank you. Your time is up.
Yep.
Unfortunately, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Any questions on that? Nope.
Other speakers? I'm looking over here. Are you speaking today? No? All right. Here we have a speaker. Name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes, please.
Mary Beth Thuskin, 2118 Larkspur here in Wichita. I basically just have a question. On that 20-year exemption, okay, if they remodel or expand, does the 20-year exemption start over for the full amount, just the additional amounts? How is that calculated?
Scott will answer that.
Well, if we could, sir, it might be best to have Tom Henry. Oh, he already left. Okay, we'll have to follow up with you afterwards,
you.
ma'am.
Because as I see it, all we can get the money from is the land and any buildings when they're constructed. And as we know, we frequently pilot programs take that money away. So I'm just not, I'd like to see some, in one of the early public meetings, they had the board stationed around the room, and they had one that actually proposed the actual dollar amounts. Now, it may still be online somewhere. I don't know if those dollar amounts have been presented here in this committee. So that's what I was proposing, some more of information to see more proposed dollar amounts. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. No questions. Any other speakers? Going once, going twice? All right. Close the public speaking. We're down to other business, which I'll remind everyone, our next meeting is Thursday, July 9th at 10 o'clock. Unless anybody has anything else, we are adjourned. Oh, wait.
I will have one note, sir. On the agenda, we were looking at a potential special meeting and scheduling that special meeting for July 23rd. So there was some discussion about the city CIP. We just went through the county CIP, and the city CIP is also going through a similar process, and they have requested a special meeting that we need to squeeze in, and we've identified July 23rd as that date. So that is a Thursday, and it is at 10 o'clock a.m. They cannot do it on the 9th because it's based on their approval process, and it needs to be squeezed in, unfortunately, after our regularly scheduled meeting on the 9th.
Okay. We're adjourned.